misconception is that
I'm sorry for pausing it a lot, but why does it look like it just got up from doing something sneaky? Like, oh shit! Why it look like that? Look at it like, oh shit! You know that
look like it though.
You know that feeling, y'all, when like y'all like about to fall and you catch yourself like, oh shit! It look like it's doing that. Yo. Halloween's on the way, y'all. You already know. Yo, we got our hats on. Well, buckets on, actually. Yeah. Yo, what's goody with y'all, man? Yo, this is Reef'Lik. And this is Reef'Lik. Anime Horror Gang. What's goody with y'all? Got another video.
Today we're going to be reacting to Tuv.
Yo, shout out to Tuv. Bro, Brody. You doing your thing with these videos, man. Yo, we really proud of you, Brody. Yo, y'all, please go show Tuv some love and support, man. We love him so much over there, and we always love looking at his content because he always putting out some fire stuff. So please show Tuv some love. You already know, man. You already know. We love you so much, Tuv.
So please like, comment, subscribe, and join our big happy family.
Yes, join the family. Anime Horror Gang. Once you join the family, you're a supreme god. You're a loser. You're a supreme loser. You already know. Please join Anime Horror Gang, because if you don't join the gang, man, how are you supposed to keep up with the gang? Come on, you supreme loser. You straw hat loser. Like, come on, bro. Like, or sis. Join the channel. If you rock with us like that, join the channel. We can all be one big happy family over here, man. You already know. Y'all ain't subscribers. Y'all family. Whoever subscribed to this channel, y'all are family. Y'all are more than subscribers to us. So, yeah, we love y'all so much, man. Thank y'all for y'all love and support, man. Yo, Halloween's almost here, and we shot a fire vlog for the channel. So, please, we're going to have that coming up pretty soon, and a couple more things coming up pretty soon this month. So, please, like, comment, and subscribe, and let's begin. Let's get it. What's goody with y'all? Yo, so okay, for this one, it's the same joint that we reacted to before. We forgot to mention it to y'all in the beginning. This is every single CreEpyPaSta part 1. We did part 1. Before you watch this, go watch part 1 because we already did part 1. So you can catch up on what we reacted to and all the people that we already did so far. Yeah. So yeah, y'all, catch up with us and watch part 1 before you watch this. That was like over an hour long and some change and stuff like that. So please watch that. We're going to get into this one. This is going to be part 2. We might finish it. We might not. If we finish it, we just finish it. If we don't, it's going to be a part 3. So yeah, y'all, sit back, relax. Oh, yo, Halloween's on the way. Yo, like, comment, and subscribe. Show Tuv some love, and let's begin. You already know. Shout out to Tuv. We love you, Brody.
Now, a cartoon coming out by the end of this year. All right, it's not. You guys don't have to remind me about 2 Gay Cats. It's coming out by the end of this year. I promise you. If not early next year. But it's like, we're working on it. Anyway, Jeff the Killer's the best CreEpyPasta of all time. Anyway, let's head on to The Rake.
The Rake!
The Rake. Brian Somerville. A Suicide Note, 1964. As I prepare to take my life, I feel it necessary to assuage...
Y'all, this one right here, literally, I've been seeing this my whole life. My whole life. Ever since, like, grammar school... Until, like, now, I've been seeing this picture, and people be using this as a thumbnail. And I be looking like, yo, what the is this? Like, yo, this thing don't got no balls. It look like the thing got pants on and is sagging. It look like a skeleton keyhole. Like, oh, man. Yeah. It look like it got shoulder pads on.
It is not the fault of anyone other than him. For once I awoke and felt his presence. And once I awoke and saw his form, once again I awoke and heard his voice and looked into his eyes. I cannot sleep without fear of what I might next awake to experience. I cannot ever wake. Goodbye. Found in the same wooden box were 2 empty envelopes addressed to William and Rose, and 1 loose personal letter with no envelope. Dearest Lenny, I have prayed for you. He spoke your name. A journal entry. Translated from Spanish, 1880. I have experienced the greatest terror. I see his eyes when I close mine. They are hollow, black. They saw me and pierced me. His wet hand. I will not sleep. His voice. A mariner's log, 1691. He came to me in my from the foot of my bed. I felt a sensation. He took everything. We must return to England. We shall not return here again at the request of the Rake. from a witness, 2006. 3 years ago, I had just returned from a trip from Niagara Falls with my family for the 4th of July.
Oh, not near us.
Man.
Oh, not near us. Oh, I hope y'all ain't seen nothing like this near us. Oh, y'all, Niagara Falls is not that long from us, so.
Nope.
Yeah, oh, it better not be near us.
Where I am, I woke up thinking my husband had gotten up to use the restroom.
If it is, we're blowing up everything. Yo.
I apologized and told him I thought he got out of bed. When he turned to face me, he gasped and pulled his feet up from the end of the bed so quickly his knee almost knocked me out of the bed. He then grabbed me and said nothing. After adjusting to the dark for half a second, I was able to see what caused the strange reaction. At the foot of the bed, sitting and facing away from us, there was what appeared to be a naked man or a large hairless dog of some sort. Its body position was disturbing and unnatural, as if it had been hit by a car or something. For some reason, I wasn't instantly frightened by it, but more concerned as to its condition. At this point, I was somewhat under the assumption that we were supposed to help him. My husband was peering over his arm and knee, tucked into the fetal position, occasionally glancing at me before returning to the creature. In a flurry of motion, the creature scrambled around the side of the bed, and then crawled quickly in a flailing sort of motion right along the bed until it was less than a foot away from my husband's face. The creature was completely silent for about 30 seconds, or probably closer to 5, it just seemed like a while. It just was looking at my husband. The creature then placed its hand on its knee and ran to the hallway, leading to the kids' room. I screamed and ran for the light switch, planning to stop him before he hurt my children. When I got to the hallway, the light from the bedroom was enough to see it crouching and hunched over about 20 feet away. He turned around and looked directly at me. Covered in blood, I flipped the switch on the wall and saw my daughter Clara. The creature ran down the stairs while my husband and I rushed to help our daughter. She was very badly injured and spoke only once more in her short life. She said, "He is the rake." My husband drove his car into the lake later that night while rushing our daughter to the hospital. He didn't survive. Being a small town, news got around pretty quickly. The police were helpful at first, and the local newspaper took a lot of interest as well. However, the story was never published, and the local television news never followed up either. For several months, my son Justin and I stayed in a hotel near my parents' house. After we decided to return home, I began looking for answers myself. I eventually located a man in the next town who had a similar story. We got in contact and began talking about our experiences. He knew of 2 other people in New York who had seen the creature we now refer to as the rake. It took the 4 of us about 2
Oh my god.
writing letters to come up with a small collection of what we believe to be
Wait a minute, y'all. I'm doing something real quick.
Your follow-up. One journal had an entry involving the creature in its first 3 pages, and it never mentioned it again. A ship's log explained nothing of the encounter, saying only they were told to leave by the rake. That was the
Man.
There were, however, many instances where the creature's visit was one of a series of visits with the same person. Multiple people also mentioned being spoken to, my daughter included. This led us to wonder if the rake had visited any of us before our last encounter. I set up a
Yeah, I could not imagine that in our house, man.
for 2 weeks.
I can't.
Scan through the sounds of me rolling around in my bed each day when I woke up. By the end of the second week, I was quite used to the occasional sound of sleep while blurring through the recording at 8 times the normal speed. This still took almost an hour every day. On the first day of the 3rd week, I thought I heard something different. What I found was a shrill voice. It was the rake. I can't listen to it long enough to even begin to transcribe it. I haven't let anyone listen to it yet. All I know is that I've heard it before, and I now believe that it spoke when it was sitting in front of my husband. I don't remember hearing anything at the time, but for some reason, the voice on the recorder immediately brings me back to that moment. The thoughts that must have gone through my daughter's head make me very upset. I have not seen the rake since he ruined my life, and I know that he...
Y'all, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. If we see this in our backyard or like just period, like I'll be scared as fuck. Cause what the fuck is that?
I don't even know, man.
Y'all, please invest in a gun. Invest in a gun.
Yeah, yo, I'm not going to... Dude, if anything, dude, that's nightmare fuel right there. If that in your house, man.
Y'all, please get a gun. And if y'all have kids, please try your best to hide it and lock it up. Because y'all don't know what could happen. I'd rather feel you got a whole family and you don't got no type of something to protect yourselves.
Man, at this point, it's like you gotta have something to protect yourself, man.
Man, like now these days, people is insane. Like for real, people is really just crazy. And like you don't know what type of creatures could be walking up to your house. That's why y'all, I'm not going front. Immediately really got like a whole nother house. I feel like if we like I wouldn't mind living on like a big land. I just don't want mad woods near us. You know what I'm saying? And it's making me feel like bro, like, how could some people live out there in them houses that be like one house with mad land around it? Like, I couldn't, because your house is going to be like the main target for anything around that area. So it's kind of like, if y'all love living like that, y'all love living like that. We can't judge y'all. That's how y'all live. We want to live like that too, but dang, you don't know what's in these woods.
Exactly, man. Exactly.
It's just creepy to realize that this could be in your backyard. Please, y'all, if y'all got family or you just living by yourself, please invest in a gun. Please get your gun permit, invest in a gun, and get some security cameras that you can put around your house. Because you don't know what's out there and you need to be aware of your surroundings. Even when you sleep, have cameras around your house so they can alert you on what's happening around your house.
Yeah.
For real. Like, look at that. Can you imagine being face to face with that?
I can't.
That thing could be 10 times stronger than you.
The rake is a name given to a strange pale-skinned creature that's
The cheeks, bro.
somewhat resembling a mutated dog. The fanged and taloned creature is commonly said to live in the woods or forested areas. However, the spread of the character and the resulting lack of common rules.
Yo, homie, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm sorry, Leak, for saying this, but y'all, you're not about to sit on the edge of my bed with your bare ass on my bed, bro. Like, bro, your butt, you probably shitted somewhere and you sitting your dirty ass on my bed. Look at them cheeks on my bed, bro. Dude, you got your butt on my bed, bro. Like, I know you ain't wiped your ass. So now, I'm dealing with this, and now there's shit on my bed. Like, literally, bro. Man, you got your balls and your ass on my bed now. The gooch.
I think that would be the least of my concerns. To being ripped apart by that thing.
But bro, why is it on your bed? Like, look, bro, like,
that's like the least of my concerns.
The creature's appearance shows that it has large bulbous eyes that are reflective when caught in the light of a camera, a drooping jaw with a large fang-filled mouth, and often either a nose that is missing entirely, or which is simply an open socket, similar to that of a skull. The creature is usually shown naked and crawling towards the...
Oh, that's disgusting, son. That look like a fiend out at the corner. Y'all, I'm not gonna lie with y'all. Like, in Buffalo, like, I'm not here to judge nobody, but I'm just saying, like, this look like a fiend, bro. This look like a person that'll be at the bridge, the Humboldt Bridge, and just literally sit there like this at the corner with a sign talking about give him some food. And I'm looking like, yo, look at this thing. Look at his back, bro. Yo, this is what you need, bro. Yo, this is what you need, bro. This is what you need, cause that back is disgusting, bro. Why is it arched like that? It look like the guy that played the Joker's back. Like, no, that's
In an origin story similar to that of the Slender Man, the mythic creature known as the Rake originally evolved out of a 2005 thread on 4chan where an anonymous poster on the /B board suggested that the contributors try to collaboratively come up with ideas for a new monster. After some initial back and forth discussion, one particular idea was chosen as the most promising candidate and began to be formed, added to, and manipulated by several users. The descriptions of this creature, which went through numerous adumbrations before finally settling, shared some characteristics with a commonly accepted Rake image that is widespread today. However, there were also some glaring differences. For example, the original suggestions called for 3 eyes, while the most common version of the Rake only has
Mr.
2.
Clean
Creatures are like other facial features, having, for example, a missing nose or mouth. The first story to feature the Rake appeared on Brian Somerville's personal blog on July 20th, 2006. Somerville, who was a regular user of the Something Awful site, provided a backstory for the Rake, and with his story cemented some of the more commonly accepted features of the creature.
I knew he ain't never expect that to like blow up.
As far as the 12th century, and that the creature can be linked to unexplained phenomena and sightings of cryptid-like beings in the northeastern United States. By 2008,
wow.
Stories appeared on LiveJournal. The story and variants featuring the Rake appeared on Something Awful and 4chan by the following year, and first appeared on the paranormal subreddit in 2010. It later found its way into CreEpyPaSta forums and began to increase in popularity. The common misconception is that the...
I'm sorry for pausing that a lot, but why does it look like it just got up from doing something sneaky? Like, oh shit! Why it look like that? Look at it, like, oh shit! You know that
look like it though.
You know that feeling, y'all, when like y'all like about to fall and you catch yourself like, oh shit! It looked like it's doing that.
It was actually taken seriously by mainstream media outlets when it first appeared. The still image
Oh, this is disgusting.
The night vision camera was posted to the Wild Game Innovation site by someone claiming to have actually encountered the creature. The image and story of the strange encounter was then picked up by media outlets as Britain's The Daily Mail and NBC, which featured the image on a brief report on the alleged sighting on its morning show. However, rather than this image influencing the initial ideas of the rake's appearance, the timeline seems to indicate that the rake stories were retrospectively linked to this image. Since discussions of the creature's appearance, Somerville's original story, and the first postings to major CreEpyPasta and paranormal sites predate the image's creation and appearance in news media. The association of the image with the character can most likely be attributed to the face that the image itself appeared in the same month as a single topic blog Tumblr account, hoping to gather together all of the fan art, CopyPasta, and sighting reports into one place. For fans of the rake story or those encountering it for the first time, conflating the image with the story and an association that would continue to the present. Incidentally, despite some sites claiming that the Berwick monster photograph has never been authenticated or debunked, the image, which went viral and was spread on various platforms with posters alleging it was real, was in fact meant to be a depiction of a Grim from the game Resistance 3. It was released by the company responsible for the game, and such has been revealed to be a hoax.
Oh, wow. So it came from a video game.
Man.
Here's one thing you need to do before buying.
Still, if anything, that's an unselling image.
Thank you.
Until you watch this first.
Thank you.
Watch this.
The Rake. Another image that haunted mainstream media. I feel like you can argue that about Jeff the Killer. Like, people that don't even know about Jeff the Killer's story, they know the image though. And it's the same concept with the Rake. With it coming back every year that someone saw it in their backyard with their deer camera. It's like, bro, no, that's just the classic Rake image. Personally, I didn't like the story. I'm gonna be honest. I didn't really like the Rake story. It was
I rock with it.
There's so much potential.
I mean, everybody's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah.
Like, he might think it's boring. I think it's fire. Learning all this is good to me because it's like, dang, I never knew this.
Yeah.
And I feel like you could do a lot more. And by the way, guys, there are multiple stories on each CreEpyPasta. I just tried to pick the most original. If we can always make a part 2 where I talk about sub-stories of each of the CreEpyPastas. I know I didn't do Ben Drowned for this video. That's because it would have been the longest, and this video is already long enough. I don't even know what the watch time is going to be. Hope you guys are watching it all the way through. But yeah, if we ever do a part 2, Ben Drowned, trust me, will be on there. And anything I missed, basically. So yeah,
What type of camera Brody got? That's good.
Smile Dog. I first met
Smile Dog.
in the summer of 2007. I had arranged with her husband of 15 years, Terrence, to see her for an interview.
Oh,
Mary
Lord.
initially agreed.
Okay, now that's unselling. Yo, what?
For a few early college
Like, what is that?
According to plan, some pieces of fiction. We scheduled the interview for a particular weekend when I was in Chicago on unrelated business, but at the last moment, Mary changed her mind and locked herself in the couple's bedroom, refusing to meet with me. For half an hour, I sat with Terrence as we camped outside the bedroom door. I, listening and taking notes, while he attempted fruitlessly to calm his wife. The things Mary said made little sense, but fit with the pattern I was expecting. Though I could not see her, I could tell from her voice that she was crying, and more often than not, her objections to speaking with me centered around an incoherent diatribe on her dreams, her nightmares. Terrence apologized profusely when we ceased the exercise, and I did my best to take it in stride. Recall that I wasn't a reporter in search of a story, but merely a curious young man in search of information. Besides, I thought at the time I could perhaps find another similar case if I put my mind and resources to it. Mary E. was a sysop for a small Chicago-based bulletin board system in 1992 when she first encountered Smile.jpg, and her life changed forever. She and Terrence had been married for only 5 months. Mary was one of an estimated 400 people who saw the image when it was posted as a hyperlink on the BBS, though she's the only one who has spoken openly about the experience. The rest have remained anonymous, or are perhaps dead. In 2005, when I was only in 10th grade, Smile.jpg was first brought to my attention by my burgeoning interest in web-based phenomena. Mary was the most often cited victim of what is sometimes referred to as, quote, Smile.
That dog looked like Jack Hommel.
Yeah.
That sounds Jack.
Man.
Let's have a bite off.
That file is nowhere to be found on the internet. Certainly, many photo-manipulated simulacra litter the web, showing up with the most frequency on sites such as the
Who will win, that or Cujo?
I don't even know.
No, Cujo is different, bro.
have the effect the true Smile.jpg is believed to have, namely sudden onset temporal lobe epilepsy and acute anxiety. This purported reaction in the viewer is one of the reasons the phantom-like Smile.jpg is regarded with such disdain, since it's patently absurd. Though depending on whom you ask, the reluctance to acknowledge Smile.jpg's existence might be just as much out of fear as it is out of disbelief. Neither Smile.jpg nor Smile.dog is mentioned anywhere on Wikipedia, though the website features articles on such other, perhaps more scandalous shock sites as Two Girls One Cup. Any attempt to create a
Oh, that video is a curse itself right there.
Wikipedia's many actions. JPEG are the stuff of internet legend. Mary E's story is not.
Y'all, if y'all ever watched two girls in that cup, y'all, if y'all can sit there and watch through that, something's wrong with you. We're staying far away from you, because that is like disgusting at its finest right there. If you watch that video straight through, you is a weirdo. You're a weirdo. Like, beyond us. Like, you're just weird. And then so, like, people don't rock with you. You're just, it was weird through school. Like, you never had friends. Like, you're weird if you can sit there and watch that video. I'm sorry.
The mere mention of that, though.
Just the name of that just even scares me. Like, no, bro. And can you imagine y'all was eating lunch that day when I seen that? Oh!
Let's not bring that up.
I mean, it's too late now.
Oh my.
Said that in the mid to late 90s, that Smile.jpg circulated on Usenet and as an attachment of a chain email with the subject "Smile, God loves you" in all caps. Yet, despite the huge exposure these stunts would generate,
Oh my god.
admit to having experienced any of them.
Bro, if I woke up and see my dog like that, I am no.
That ain't your dog no more, man.
Oh, we're boxing.
That ain't your dog no more.
We're boxing.
However, all alleged victims offer the same description of the photo.
The dog looked like it dabbed his face in paint.
Husky, illuminated by the flash of the camera, sitting in a dim room. The only background detail that is visible being a human hand extending from the darkness near the left side of the frame. The hand is empty, but is usually described as beckoning. Of course, most attention is given to the dog, or dog creature, as some victims are more certain than others about what they claim to have seen.
Oh, I see the hand.
Reputedly split in a wide grin, revealing 2 rows of very white teeth. Very straight, very sharp, very human-looking teeth. This is, of course, not a description given immediately after viewing the picture, but rather a recollection of the victims who claim to have seen the picture endlessly repeated in their mind's eye during the time they are, in reality, having epileptic fits. These fits are reported to continue indeterminately, often while the victims sleep, resulting in very vivid and disturbing nightmares. These may be treated with medication, though in some says it's more effective than others. Mary E., I assumed, was not on effective medication. That was why after my visit to her apartment in 2007, I sent out feelers to several folklore and urban legend-oriented news groups, websites, and mailing lists, hoping to find the name of a supposed victim of Smile.jpg, who felt more interested in talking about his experiences. For a time, nothing happened, and at length, I forgot completely about my pursuits. Since I had begun my freshman year of college, and I was quite busy, Mary contacted me via email, however, near the beginning of March 2008, added by Moose Juice to jml.com from marye@.net. Subject: last summer, Mary. Dear Mr. L, I am incredibly sorry about my behavior last summer when you came to interview me. I hope you understand that it was no fault of yours, but rather my own problems that led me to act out as I did. I realized that I could have handled the situation more decorously. However, I hope you will forgive me. At the time, I was afraid. You see, for 15 years I've been haunted by Smile.jpg. Smile comes to me in my sleep every night. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. There's an ineffable quality about my dreams, my nightmares, that makes them completely unlike any real dreams that I've ever had. I do not move, and I do not speak. I simply look ahead. The only thing ahead of me is that horrible picture. I see a beckoning hand, and I see Smile Dog. It talks to me. It's not a dog, of course, though I'm not sure what it really is. It tells me it will leave me alone only if I do as it asks. All I must do, it says, is spread the word. That's how it phrases its demands. And I know exactly what it means. It wants me to show it to someone else. And I could. The week after my incident, I received in the mail a manila envelope with no return address. Inside was a 3.5-inch floppy diskette. Without having to check, I knew precisely what was on it. I thought for a long time about my options. I could show it to a stranger, a co-worker. I could even show it to Terrence. As much as the idea disgusted me, And what would happen then? Well, if Smile Dog kept its word, I could sleep. Yet if it lied, what would I do? And who was to say something worse would not come from me if I did as the creature asked? So I did nothing for 15 years, though I kept the diskette hidden amongst my things. Every night for 15 years, Smile Dog has come to me in my sleep and demanded that I spread the word. For 15 years, I have stood strong, though there have been hard times. Many of my fellow victims on the BBS board, where I first encountered Smile.jpg, stopped posting. I heard some of them committed suicide. Others remained completely silent, simply disappearing off the face of the web. They are the ones I worry about the most. I sincerely hope you will forgive me, Mr. L, but last summer when you contacted me and my husband about the interview, I was near the breaking point. I decided I was going to give you the floppy diskette. I didn't care if Smile Dog was lying.
Oh, wow.
End to end. You were a stranger, someone I had no connection
What
with.
the f? It's getting worse.
When you took the diskette as part of your research and sealed your fate. Before you arrived, I realized what I was doing was plotting to ruin your life. I couldn't stand the thought, and in fact, I still can't. I'm ashamed, Mr. L, and I hope this warning will dissuade you from further investigation of Smile.jpg. You may in time encounter someone who is, if not weaker than I, then wholly more depraved. Someone who will not hesitate to follow Smile Dog's orders. Stop while you are still whole. Sincerely, Mary E. Terrence contacted me later that month with the news that his wife had killed herself while cleaning up various things she left behind.
Wow.
Accounts and stuff like that. He happened upon the above message. He was a man in shambles. He wept as he told me to listen to his wife's advice. He found the diskette, he revealed, and burned it until it was nothing but a stinking pile of blackened plastic. The part that most disturbed him, however, was how the diskette had hissed as it melted, like some sort of animal, he said. I will admit, I was a little uncertain about how to respond to this. At first I thought perhaps it was a joke, with the couple belatedly playing with the situation in order to get a rise out of me. A quick check of several Chicago newspapers' online obituaries, however, proved that Mary E. was indeed dead. There was, of course, no mention of suicide in the article. I decided that, for a time at least,
Oh, wow.
the subject of Smile by
That's crazy.
especially since I had finals coming up at the end of May. But the world has odd ways of testing us. Almost a full year later, after I returned from my disastrous interview with Mary E., I received another email to jml@.com from elza82@.com. Subject, Smile. Hello. I found your email address through a mailing list. Your profile said you are interested in Smile Dog. I have saw it. It is not as bad as everyone says. I have sent it to you here. Just spreading the word. Just spreading the word. The final line chilled me to the bone. According to my email client, there was one file attachment called naturally smile.jpg. I considered downloading it for some time. It was most likely a fake, I imagine, and even if it wasn't, I was never wholly convinced of smile.jpg's peculiar powers. Mary E's account had shaken me, yes, but she was probably mentally unbalanced anyway. After all, how could a simple image do what smile.jpg was said to accomplish? What sort of creature was it that could break one's mind with only the power of the eye? And if such things were
That's scary, bro.
how did the legend exist at all? If I downloaded the image, if I looked at it, and if Mary turned out to be correct, if Smile Dog came to me in my dreams demanding I spread the word, what would I do? Would I live my life as Mary had, fighting against the urge to give in until I died? Or would I simply spread the word, eager to be put to rest? And if I chose the latter route, how could I do it? Whom would I burden in turn? If I went through with my earlier intention to write a short article about Smile.jpg, I decided I could attach it as evidence, and anyone who read the article, anyone who took interest, would be affected. And even assuming the Smile.jpg attached to the email was genuine, would I be capricious enough to save myself in that manner? Could I spread the word? Yes. Yes, I could. The Smile Dog CreEpyPaSta, also often referred to as Smile.jpg, concerns a supposedly cursed or demonic image of a Siberian husky with a menacing expression and an exaggeratedly large smile from a mouth seemingly filled with human teeth. According to the story, this image depicting, quote, Smile Dog is an image of a demon or evil spirit that then plagues and torments anyone who has looked upon it with horrendous visions and nightmares, impelling them to, quote, spread the word by sharing the image with others. The longer the victim continues without sharing the image, the more extreme the, quote, haunting becomes, and if the image isn't shared, then Smile Dog takes his true form, either killing the victim, driving them to the point of insanity, or in many versions, dragging them away to hell. The original
Wow.
with the Smile.jpg/Smile Dog CreEpyPaSta shows a Siberian husky with what appears to be a heavily photoshopped mouth. The husky is gray-black, and the image shows only the head and neck with prominent pointed ears. The eyes of the dog are illuminated by the camera flash so that they take on a glowing quality, and the manner in which the dog is looking.
I'm so glad we're watching this during the day because we watch this at night, bro.
It's like-
Yo, I hate watching it at night and then you go right to sleep and you start dreaming about that. Oh my god.
Lens as if posing for a portrait in a disturbingly human fashion. Most unsettling, however, is the smile, which aside from appearing too wide for the mouth, seems not to contain canine teeth, but more human or primate. The origin of both the original image of the husky and the first appearance of the altered image are unknown, with their creators still being anonymous. A fact that only adds to the story's effectiveness by adding at least the suggestion that the image could have an origin other than somebody editing and posting an image of their dog. This inability to pin down the exact origin of the story also ties in with the meta elements of the creepypasta story itself, in which the narrator describes how the image cannot be traced, and references to it on popular websites or incidents linked to it seem to disappear or be suppressed, suggesting that there are forces that do not want the background of the image or information about its power to be discussed in a public forum. The general consensus on the first appearance of creepypasta relating to the image is that it first appeared in 2008 on the 4chan X-board, though even this origin remains frustratingly not specific and unclear. Following the initial posting, the story spread becomes a little clearer. In 2009, a post on Urban Dictionary gave an explanation of the story as a definition for the term smile.jpg. In April 2010, a thread was opened by anonymous Ethan on Movie Codec forums discussing the image and story. Here, the idea that the image's origin was unclear was again underscored by the poster. Later that same year, a live-action video about the story was uploaded to YouTube by a user known as Saboom, and on the 27th of August, the story got its own page on CreepyPasta Wiki. The Smile Dog creepypasta is built around a number of long-established tropes. The first is the concept of chain letters. These are letters sent mostly anonymously, which contain an instruction or inducement to spread or send on the letter on its message, often with either the promise of some reward or a threat of some mishap or bad luck befalling the receiver if they refuse to send the message on and continue the chain. Originally, actual letters sent by snail mail, this concept has evolved to encompass viral emails and Facebook posts, but work in precisely the same way. While the addition of a haunted, supernatural, or curse element has long been an established feature of some old-school physical chain letters, one of the more notable examples of this in an internet format and possible precursor of the Smile JPEG story was the story of Carmen Winstead and the alternative name Jessica Smith that surfaced on Facebook in 2006 about a girl who had died in a sewer. The post insisted that people share the post to a specific number of people that they would be haunted by Carmen/Jessica, a familiar template and one that recurs in Smile JPEG. The other significant tropes in the story, the idea of pursuit by a demon or malevolent entity, and the idea that this activity can be started or halted by passing on a particular artifact, is a common one within popular culture, and the theme of numerous horror movies from The Ring to the more comedic Drag Me to Hell, and more recently, It Follows. Part of the effectiveness of the Smile.jpg creepypasta and image being creepy is due to its ability to induce a feeling known as the uncanny in viewers. This is mostly attributable to the dog's smile and its apparent need for CBD for pets. In the effect similar to the unsettling effect caused by a clown's painted smile, psychologists suggest that smiles that are too wide or which show all the teeth produce a feeling of anxiety within the onlooker as it subconsciously suggests predation or aggression.
Oh my god. Yo, that story is fucking nuts.
Yeah.
Smile Dog, one of my personal favorites. I think it's like right below Jeff the Killer for me. It's either Sonic.exe or Smile Dog, but Jeff the Killer is number one for me. So with Smile Dog, it was the first one I read for this video, and it gave me a really good impression of what to look forward to, as in creepypastas. This one was not that corny. I was afraid that they were all going to be somewhat corny, but this one was actually pretty cool. The concept of turning something so innocent, like a husky, into this horrifying image that, again, like the Jeff the Killer image and the Rake image, are known above the creepypasta community. If you have not seen that image of that demon dog, you lying. You are lying. And I really like the little shout out. I don't know if they did it on purpose, but a little like shout out to Chainmail. That's pretty cool. It's a creepypasta. That's so cool. Now let's head on over to Slenderman.
Oh man.
By Josh Dean. There it is again. What is that thing? I can't take this anymore. It's like everywhere I go, all I see is this horrible, tall, thin, and seemingly faceless creature. It's been haunting my dreams as
The game, remember the video game?
Yeah.
Okay, y'all. If y'all, I don't know if I can still play it or not, but if y'all want me to play the Slenderman game and it's on PS5, let me know. I'll play that.
being watched. It's like I'm never.
I'll play it.
I hate it. I can't sleep. I can't go outside, and I can't function as a normal person anymore.
Man, I couldn't imagine
Was that Slenderman? Was that Silent Head?
Slenderman, I think.
Slenderman got a game, right?
Yeah.
I know Silent Head got one. If Slenderman got a game, like, let me know if y'all want me to play it. I'll definitely play it for the channel.
Yo, I couldn't imagine. Man, first of all, like, who'd be walking the dead woods at night?
With a suit?
It's just not natural.
Nigga, that's Yao Ming, bro. Yo!
help narrow the search, but there wasn't one. I have no memory of seeing this thing's face. It was always just a blur. But then I could never look at it long enough without feeling uneasy. I usually just walk in the
It's a tall thing with a suit on. Where you get that suit from, bro?
Before I could get a clear look. Well, the search provided me with something called the Slender Man. What the fuck is a Slender Man? This mythical creature is the thing that's been stalking me? No, it can't be. I refuse to believe that. I haven't left my house in 2 days. Been held up reading all these Slenderman stories and accounts. Needless to say, sleep has eluded me for the duration. Nothing's going right anymore. I think I've angered it by not letting it in my dreams. I keep hearing banging on the windows late at night and creaking on the floorboards as I'm lying in bed. I know they say houses do that on their own, but this is different. The creaks aren't that of the house settling. There's weight behind them, like soft footsteps. However, every time I go look, there's nothing there. But when I re-enter my room, I always get the sensation of being watched. Tell me, have you ever been sitting in a room by yourself, windows and door closed, when suddenly the door opens for no reason? I think everyone has, but I'm different. I swear it's not.
Okay, that ain't never happened to us.
No.
I mean, I feel like houses do make sounds because the house it ages over time, and the house do make sounds.
Yeah.
I feel like when I'm in the house by myself, y'all, I can't sit in the house by myself because I feel too creeped out. Like, dang, I don't like being by myself. Like, it feels weird, bro.
Man.
Like,
The window's locked for about a week now. I'm not one to believe in ghosts or anything of that sort, but this just has an eerie feel to it. Whenever the door spontaneously opens, it gets noticeably colder in the room. The second I leave the room, however, all the other rooms are back to normal. So it's not like the thermostat's on the brink. Any room, however, except my own. My room's been getting cold recently. Real cold. I resorted to lighting candles all around the room to try to heat up the place. I don't know what's happening. I'm starting to lose it. I went outside for the first time in over a week today. I thought maybe my delusions were coming from being cooped up and spending too much time scaring myself reading about the Slender Man. I went through my day-to-day life as best I could, and to my surprise, no sightings of that thing. Everything was going fine, in fact. I was starting to forget about the whole thing. That is, until I was heading home. I was walking through the woods, trying to take in as much fresh air as possible before I went home, and I stumbled across a piece of paper lying there in the middle of the footpath. I normally just...
Sure, I wouldn't be walking. I'm losing the dead. Yo.
It looked like it had been carefully placed there, no longer than perhaps 20 minutes ago. I picked it up and turned it over. It was a drawing of that thing, the Slender Man. A very crude sketch depicted of him with the words, "No, no, no," scribbled down the sides of the page. As I tried to decipher the page, the clouds quickly
okay.
to a heavy black. I best get home quick before the rain hits, I thought to myself.
Alright, so it is a Slenderman game. Okay. I hope y'all can see it. It is a Slenderman game. So I might play it if it's on PS5. Is it on PS5? Wait a minute. Well, if it is, if it ain't, oh well. So be it.
Yep.
So you gotta find all these pages.
Going out of my mind trying to find out where it was, thinking about how new it looked, and wondering what sick fuck drew this and left it there for me. I'm just gonna go to bed. I better get some sleep. I swear that picture's cursed. Slenderman was in my dream again last night. It seemed so real. I was lying in my bed in the dream, and I had woken up and seen him standing there in the corner of my room. I tried to scream, move, do anything, but couldn't. I laid there, frozen in fear, wondering what would happen. He just lifted his arm and lifted it a good 10 feet to the headboard of my bed and rested his hand.
Oh, they got 3 more pages.
Feel like hands, more like tendrils, over my eyes, and I went back to sleep. When I woke up, there was nothing. A fucked up dream. Oh, and you know what else has been happening since I brought that picture home? My electronics have been fucking up. My laptop.
Oh,
Even with full battery, my TV randomly turns to static. My phone keeps getting...
y'all, I'm gonna let y'all know this. If y'all see something demonic, y'all go into these abandoned places or just in the woods in general, and y'all see something demonic just laying on the ground or just on the wall, wherever you find it at, don't take it home.
Yeah.
Don't take it home because you don't know what people be doing. You don't know what people be doing, y'all. And like that's very creepy. That's really creepy. Like, y'all, don't do it. Please don't, because y'all could be bringing something home that, like, people be using stuff for, like, what's some joints called they be doing? Rituals and ceremonies and stuff. Yeah, y'all, don't take that stuff home because that's wild. That's really wild.
Sounds of footsteps at night. You got the picture. I'm burning it tonight. I'm taking it out.
If it ain't meant for me to take it, I'm not taking it.
Oh no, this can't be happening.
And don't be stupid out here just doing that. Like, that's weird.
Last night and watched it burn. How is it back? What kind of twisted bastard would put a duplicate copy through someone's mailbox. This really isn't funny. I can't even phone.
Oh no! You burnt it, and then you got one in the mailbox.
Too much to cope with now. Day after day.
Security cameras.
Nothing works in the house, and I keep thinking I'm seeing him in the house. Whenever I leave the room, I think I catch a glimpse of him in my peripheral vision.
Oh, did you see it? Oh!
Is this thing really invaded my home? If so, there's no safety to be had. If he can get me here, he can get me anywhere. Doesn't mean I won't go down without a fight, though. Okay, I've locked my doors and all the windows and took enough food and water from the kitchen to last me about a week. I'm gonna hold down my room as long as possible. I don't feel safe outside, nor do I feel safe in my own home. This is my last resort. I know he's got something sinister in store for me. I just know it. Why else would he go to such lengths to scare me to the brink of my sanity? Well, I barricaded myself in my room for now. Nothing's getting in here without my say-so. It's getting late. I'm gonna try to get some shut-eye. Shit, what was that? I swear I heard something move. It must have, because it woke me up. This is no ordinary footstep.
Oh, 2 more pages.
No, that was a loud and deliberate thud. He must be messing with me. The Slenderman knows I'm here. I would get up out of bed to turn the light on, but there's no point.
Bro, how you gonna use the bathroom, bro? You gonna piss on the thing?
Yeah.
I know this sounds like crazy, but have you ever seen a darker shade of black than normal? Like when
Piss in a bottle, bro?
everything casts a shadow, but some shadows are darker than the others. I swear.
Yeah.
Even though I'm currently in near blank darkness, that corner is darker than the rest. It's the same corner that was in my last nightmare. It's like the darkness is moving. My night vision is getting better now. I can see it in more detail. Oh no. I can see an outline of a man forming that corner. A really tall, thin.
Oh! Oh, I got scared as hell!
Yeah.
Frozen in fear, wondering what's gonna happen. He lifts his arm and stretches it across my room.
Got one more.
No, these aren't hands. These are tendrils in my forehead. I thought about grabbing his arm and trying to push away, or getting up out of my bed and trying to break down the door, but
Bro, this game is insane, bro!
I'm myself around me to some sort of blackened cocoon. Before I could scream, the blackness.
Where's my bucket?
Yeah.
Ain't that crazy? On the last page, you gotta hurry up because now it's starting to get staticky. Oh,
Directly over me, looking down. That was the last thing I saw before the darkness claimed me.
Yo.
oh my god!
Have you ever thought about what happens to appliances that are sent back? Returned for tiny scratches?
Though adaptation and modification by various authors means that Slenderman's appearance can vary somewhat depending upon the source, the most common features remain the same. The character is usually depicted as an abnormally tall humanoid, usually wearing a dark suit and tie. Slenderman's face is almost always completely featureless and often either white or pale gray, though in some depictions his blank face does feature an animalistic mouth. Slenderman is often said to be able to extend or stretch his limbs, particularly his arms at will, and either has tentacles protruding, just visible from his back, or has tentacle-like appendages in place of his arms. The character commonly inhabits liminal spaces, such as the entrance to woods and forests, or areas of abandoned ground on the outskirts of more populated areas. While there's a wide variety of Slenderman stories out there, much of the character's effectiveness comes from the fact that there's no single definitive version. The initial posts that introduced the character being only fragmentary quotes, linked to an image rather than an actual short story or complete narrative. Though the details alter, some elements seem to remain as constants, such as the character appearing by woods or forests, enticing children away from their parents and friends, never to be seen again. Another common trope that the Slenderman exerts is an influence upon the victims, making them perpetrators of crimes or violent actions. The character has also been said to cause illness, particularly a cough known as, quote, slender sickness, and to induce those who encounter him to suicide. These latter features, namely enticement to violence or suicide, became more prevalent and commonly associated with the character in a case of art imitating life, after real violent events or cases of attempted suicide were linked to the character. Despite some media outlets adding to the aura of the Slenderman mythos by claiming that the figure's origins are unclear, in fact, the character's origin is easily traceable. Slenderman in his original form was created by Eric Knudsen under the alias Victor Surge. Knudsen was responding to a call on Something Awful for posters to contribute digitally altered photographs that would then serve as the basis for new mythologies or stories. Knudsen's effort, posted on June 10, 2009, showed groups of teenagers and children with the now familiar figure of Slenderman standing in the background.
Well, homie look bad right there. Dang, bro, you ain't getting no Apple Jacks this morning, bro. Homie look mad. Like, you on a field trip, bro.
Alongside the images, Knudsen provided small snippets of out-of-context context text purported to be witness accounts that give hints about the scenes depicted and their relation to the anomalous figure of the Slender Man. By attaching short snippets of text with his images, Knudsen transformed the lone image into the first Slender Man story, albeit in a non-linear and fragmentary form. Following this initial appearance, the Slender Man character was then picked up by other users, who either fit him into their own narratives or write short accounts of alleged encounters with the character, sculpting as they did some of the features recognized today. With each new detail and new account, posters helped in building a mythos around the character that, because of its viral scope and myriad of conflicting details and accounts, did not retain a canon version, and this process happened fast. The day after Knudsen's post, a user named LeechCode5 posted a photo with a backstory featuring Slenderman. By June 14th, a user named Trench Mall had used Slenderman in his own story. A user known as Theria Up posted a story about a figure in Germany who stalked children on the edge of the forest, providing a historical reference point for the character. On June 20th of the same year, Slenderman became the subject of a YouTube video series.
Okay, now that's a creepy image right there, man.
Right.
The series, which alleged to detail interactions or discoveries about the Slender Man, was made while
Him in the
working on a
background,
project with
too.
Marble Hornets. The series of videos was supported by a Twitter feed, and a second YouTube channel allowed the character to move from being just a text, with the character now being referred to, discussed, and modified across a number of different platforms and modalities by an ever-growing number of contributors.
Wow.
So the specific Slenderman video that I read, I think it's a great introduction, but I think it's a lame story. I tried to go back to the first Slenderman story. I think that was it. I'm pretty sure that one was it. I know there are better ones because anyone can make a story, but I think this was the first Slenderman story, and it was a lame story, but it was a really good introduction. So if you want a better Slenderman story, it's not actually about Slenderman, but he's a big topic in it. We're going to head on over to Tiki Toby. Tiki Toby, I can't wait to talk about that after you're done listening. I got Tiki Toby recommended by a Discord user because they're in the Patreon chat. So, you know, if you become a patron, you can talk to me directly. I asked them like a month and a half ago, like, what specifically do you guys want as patrons? I will put it in the video. So they let me know. And someone said Tiki Toby, and I'm so happy I took what they said because this one is a really great story. So I'll see you guys after Tiki Toby.
Okay.
Tiki Toby.
Oh, God.
The long road home seemed to go on and on. The road continued to stretch from the vehicles endlessly. The light that shone through the branches of the tall, green trees danced across the windows in random patterns, and every once in a while, obnoxiously shining in your eyes. The surroundings were full of deep green trees.
Yeah.
What the
is
this?
The sound was out of the car's engine as it traveled down the path. It was peaceful and left a serene feeling. Although the ride seemed like a nice one, it lacked every form of nice from its two passengers. The middle-aged
Oh, that thing look crazy.
brown hair that fit her complexion quite well. She wore a green V-neck t-shirt and a pair of blue jeans. Diamond stud earrings decorated each of her ears, which partially showed from
That don't look
her
crazy.
green eyes, which her shirt brought out, and the lighting seemed to make them more noticeable. There wasn't anything significant about her appearance. She looked like any other average mother, those that you would see on TV shows. However, the one thing that made her different from the average mothers was the dark bag she had under her eyes. Her facial expression was gloomy and sad. Although she genuinely looked like someone who smiled a lot, she would sniffle every once in a while, and occasionally glance in the rear-view mirror to look at her son in the backseat, who was hunched over partially, with his arms held tight around his chest, his head pressed against the cold window. The boy lacked any normal appearance, and anyone could plainly see there was something wrong with him. His messy brown hair went every which way, and the luminous lighting brought out his pale, almost gray skin. His eyes were dark, unlike his mother's, and he wore a white t-shirt and scrub pants that had been provided for him by the hospital. The clothes he had worn before were so shredded and blood-stained that they weren't wearable anymore. The right side of his face bared a few cuts with a split eyebrow. His right arm was bandaged all the way to his shoulder, which had been shredded when his right side hit the shattered glass. His injuries appeared to be painful, when in reality he couldn't feel anything. This was just one of the glories of being him. One of the challenges he had to face while growing up was growing up with a rare disease that had caused him to be completely numb towards pain. Never before
Wow.
hurt. He could have lost an arm and felt nothing. The other major disorder he had faced, which was the one that deemed him many insulting nicknames in the short time he had attended grade school before he'd switched to homeschooling, was his Tourette syndrome, which caused him to tick and twitch in ways he couldn't control. He would crack his neck uncontrollably and twitch every once in a while. The kids
Oh,
would
man.
calling him Tiki Toby, and it mocked him with exaggerated twitching and happening.
School, man.
Yeah.
It was too hard for him to be in a
School be the worst.
Seemingly every kept poking, or more like stabbing, fun at him. Toby stared blankly out the window, his face empty of any emotion, and every few minutes his shoulder, arm, or foot would twitch. Every bump that the car tires hit would make his stomach turn. Toby Rogers was the boy's name, and the last time Toby remembered riding in a car.
Y'all, I'm gonna let y'all know this. when y'all go to school and y'all one of the ones that's like nerdy like us will always get like, I know some people might be joking and stuff, but there be sometimes people just be trying to like F with you just to get a reaction out of you to like to test your, to test you. Y'all, I'm gonna let y'all know this. Just rib on people back. Cause I couldn't, man, going to school was tough for us, bro. Like, for example, like me and Leaky Leak, we was the nerd ones in the school, and they always dogged us because we was nerdy. Like, they called us lames, and it's like, he got a condition, and it's like, dang, y'all can't even see it. And it's like, see, like, going to school, bro, kids be so ruthless, bro. Ruthless, bro. You could be, like, you know what's so crazy, y'all? Me and Leaky Leak was crispy, but this the thing about us. I was going to school crispy, but my line was not good. I know my hairline was not that good. So all I was getting was hairline jokes, fat jokes, lame getting called lame and stuff. But it's crazy. I don't judge nobody. Whatever y'all want to do with y'all future, that's you. I'm doing better than y'all. Right now?
Yeah.
Shoot, I ain't dead. So.
Before he blacked out over and over again. Toby had been the lucky one.
Just ignore people, y'all. They just be hating. Like,
Couldn't help the tears that welled up in his eyes. The horrible memories replayed in his mind. Her screaming that had cut off when the front of the car was smashed in. It all went blank for a moment before Toby opened his eyes to see his sister's body, her forehead pierced with glass shards, her hips and legs crushed under the force of a steering wheel, and her torso being pushed in from the two-way inflated airbag. This was the last thing he had seen of his dear older sister.
oh my God.
For what seemed like forever. It took so long to get home because his mom wanted to avoid the side of the crash. When the surroundings gave way to a familiar neighborhood, they were both more than ready to get out of the car and step back into their own home. It was an older neighborhood with quaint little houses all next to each other. The car drove in front of the blue house with white window panes. They both quickly noticed the old vehicle that was parked in front of the house and the familiar figure that stood in the driveway. Toby felt automatic anger and frustration take over him at the sight of his father who wasn't there. His mother pulled the car up in the driveway beside him before turning off the engine and preparing to step out and face her husband. Why is he here? Toby said quietly as he looked back at his mother, who reached to open the car door. He's your father, Toby. He's here because he wants to see you. His mother responded in a monotone voice.
Oh, wow.
Shaky. Yet couldn't drive up to the hospital to see Lyra before she died? Toby narrowed his eyes out the window. He was drunk that night, honey. He couldn't drive. Yeah, when is he not? Toby pushed the door open before his
Wow.
into the driveway where he met his father's gaze before looking down at his feet with a stern expression. His mother stepped out behind him and met her husband's eyes before walking around her car. His father opened up his arms, expecting a hug from his wife, but she walked past him and put her arm around Toby's shoulder and started leading him inside. Connie, her husband began in a raspy voice. What? No welcome hug? She ignored her husband's obnoxious words and walked past him with her son under her arm. Hey, he's 16. He can walk by himself. His father began to follow them in. He's 17. Connie glared back at him before opening the door to the house and stepping inside. Toby, why don't we get you in your room to rest, okay? I'll come get you when dinner is ready. No, I'm 16. I can walk by myself, Toby said sarcastically and glared back at his father before stumbling up the small staircase and turning into his room, where he slammed the door violently. His little room didn't have much in it. Just a small bed, a dresser, a window, and his walls had a few picture frames of his family, back when they were a family. Before his father became an alcoholic and acted violently towards the rest of the family. Toby remembered when he was arguing with his mom and he grabbed her by the hair and shoved her to the floor. And when Lyra had tried to break it up, he pushed her and she hit her back on the corner of the kitchen counter. Toby could never forgive him for what he did to his mother and sister. Never. Toby didn't care about how much his father beat him down. He couldn't feel it anyway. What he did care about was how he intentionally hurt the only two people he cared about, and when he was waiting in the hospital where his sister took their last.
Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. If you're the type of dad or mother out here that's like just getting drunk, beating your kids and stuff like that, you was a loser, bro. I know we supreme losers over here, but that's why I said we're supreme. We're losers in school, and we're losers. That's what people call us. No, that's what people called us damn near our whole life. Like, oh, we lames and stuff. But, bro, you sitting there beating your kid and your wife and all the kids and stuff. Like, bro, if you're a parent doing that, you're just a loser, bro. Like, you don't got nothing going for you. You mad about life. Like, nothing ain't coming to you good. You just going day by day. Literally, like, bro, you're whack, bro, for doing that. I couldn't imagine just doing that to my wife and kids, bro. I love them too much. I would never hurt my family, bro. Like, come on, bro. You're whack, bro.
He saw something out the corner of his eye, but crawled up to him. Toby came down the stairs and hesitantly sat down across the table from his father and in between his mother and an empty chair. It was quiet as his parents picked up their food, but Toby refused to eat. Instead, he just watched his dad with a blank stare. His mother caught onto his staring and elbowed him slightly. Toby looked over at her slightly and then down to his uneaten food, which he still didn't touch. Toby lay in bed. He pulled his covers over his head and stared out the window. He was tired, but there was no way he would fall asleep. He couldn't. There was too much to think about. He had been debating on whether or not to follow his mother's directions and forgive his father, or continue holding a grudge with his boiling hatred. He heard his door creak open, and his mother padded into the room and sat on the bed next to him. She reached over and rubbed his back, which had been turned to her. "I know it's hard, Toby. Trust me, I understand, but I promise you'll get better," she said softly. "When is he going to leave?" Toby said with an innocent tone and a shaky voice. Connie let her gaze fall down to her feet. "I don't know, honey. He's staying as far as I know," she replied. Toby didn't respond. He just continued to look forward at the wall, holding his damaged arm near his chest. After a few minutes of silence, his mother sighed before she leaned in to kiss his cheek and stood up to walk out of the room. "Good night," she said as she closed the door. The hours passed slowly, and Toby couldn't quit tossing and turning. Every time he let his imagination take over, he heard the screeching of tires, the screaming of his sister, and he would uncontrollably jerk in bed. He threw off his cover and, lying on his back, he pulled his pillow over his face and cried into it. He could hear his own pitiful weeping. He would have been screaming and crying.
Wow.
Over his face. After a few seconds, he threw his pillow off his face, sat up, hunched over, held his head, and breathed roughly, tears streaming from his eyes. He couldn't help but cry. He tried to keep it in. He couldn't stop the whining and whimpering as he sat there shaking. He inhaled before he stood up and walked around his bed to the window and peered out, taking deep breaths, trying to calm down. He rubbed his eyes and looked out at the group of tall pine trees across the street. He stopped suddenly, and his gaze slowly centered on something standing under the streetlight. He heard his ears and couldn't look away. The figure stood beside the streetlight, long arms draped at its sides as it stared up at him with non-existing eyes. The figure had no facial features to speak of, no eyes, no mouth, no nose, yet it held Toby's hypnotized stare, seemingly peering into his very being. The ringing in his ears grew louder and louder each second he stared, before suddenly it all went to black. The next morning, Toby woke in his bed. He felt different. He wasn't tired at all, and when he consciously woke up, it felt like he had been lying there awake for hours. He had no thoughts flowing through his mind. He sat up slowly and stumbled over to the wall, but when he stood there, he automatically felt dizzy. He stumbled through the doorway and walked down the stairs. His parents were sitting at the table. His father was tuned into the small TV that sat on the countertop, and his mother was reading the newspaper. She quickly looked over when she felt Toby's presence looming behind her. "Well, good morning, sleepyhead. You've been sleeping forever." She greeted him with a hesitant smile. Toby looked over at the clock and he noticed it was 12:30 p.m.
Oh, wow. I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I ain't gonna front. I be sleeping all day myself. Okay, another anime?
Blood once more. It smells like a nice big battle.
Okay. What's this one called?
This is. We have fairy.
Okay.
Okay.
Hi, Die. Alright.
Did you breakfast, but it got cold. I was gonna wake you up, but I thought you needed sleep. Her expression fell from happy to worried as her son resisted responding to her. "Are you alright?" Toby stumbled over and sat by his father. He felt as if he was on idle and had no control over his actions. He was seeing everything he did, but it didn't register in his brain properly. He reached out to his father's arm, but his hand ended up getting slapped. His father turned to him abruptly and pushed his chair over his foot. "Don't touch me, boy!" he yelled. His mother stood up. "Alright, knock that off. This is the last thing we need." The days went by, and things continued on as they were. Connie spent most of her time cleaning the house, and her rude husband spent most of his time ordering her around. It was just like how it used to be before the crash. Toby never really left his room. He would sit by his bed and tremble. His mind would wander, but his thoughts changed too fast to be remembered. He would pace around his small room like a caged animal or stare out the window. The unhealthy cycle continued. Connie continued to be pushed by her husband, being way too submissive to him, and Toby remained in his room. Before he could think twice, he would begin to chew on his hands, tearing the flesh from his fingers. He would gnaw on his hands until they bled. When his mother walked in on him doing so, she reacted horribly. She rushed him downstairs and grabbed the first aid kit, wrapping his hands in bandages. Afterwards, she demanded that he wouldn't leave her side again. Toby isolated himself so much that he grew to hate being around others. His memory grew glitchy as well. He'd start missing memory of minutes, hours, days, and so on. He would begin talking nonsense about things completely unrelated to the conversations he would have. He'd go off about seeing things, sharks in the sink as he washed the dishes, hearing crickets in his pillows, and seeing ghosts outside of his bedroom window. His mother grew so anxious about his mental health that she decided it would be good for him to talk to a professional about what he was feeling. Connie walked Toby into the building, holding his hand and guiding him in. She walked
Oh my God.
began began talking to the lady who sat behind it. Mrs. Rogers? The lady asked. Yes, that's me. Connie nodded. We're here to see Dr. Oliver. I'm here with Toby Rogers. Yes, right this way. The lady stood and led them down a long hallway. Toby looked at the framed artwork down the halls and tuned into the sound of the lady's high heels on the hardwood floor. She opened the door to a room with a table and 2 chairs. If we can get him to sit in here for a few minutes, I'll get the doctor. She smiled and held the door open. Toby stumbled into the room and sat down at the table. He looked over at his mother and the lady before the door slowly shut behind them. He looked around the room before he held up his tightly bandaged hands and began to bite at the bandages to unwrap his hands.
Oh, man.
As the door swung open and a young woman in a black and spotted dress with light blonde hair stepped in, holding a clipboard and a pen. Toby? She asked with a smile. Toby looked up at her and nodded. Nice to meet you, Toby. My name is Dr. Oliver. She put her hand out for him to shake, but hesitantly pulled away when she noticed his bandaged hands. Oh, she smiled nervously before clearing her throat and sitting in a chair across the table from him. So, I'm going to ask you a few questions. Try to answer them as honestly as possible, okay? She placed her clipboard down on the table. Toby nodded slowly and held his restrained hands on his lap. How old are you, Toby? 17. He responded quietly. She wrote that down on the paper that was clipped to the clipboard. What's your full name? Toby Aaron Rogers. When's your birthday? April 28th. Who is your immediate family? Toby paused for a minute before answering her question. My mom, my dad, and he stopped. My sister. I heard about your sister, dear. I'm really sorry. Her expression faded into a sad, pity-filled look. Toby nodded. Do you remember anything from the crash, Toby? Toby looked away from her. His mind went blank for a moment. He looked down at his lap and in the surrounding area. He heard a faint ringing sound. His eyes widened and he froze in place. Toby? The counselor asked. Toby, are you listening? Toby felt a shiver go down his spine until he froze again and slowly looked over out the little window through the door where he saw a dark, featureless figure peering in at him. He stared. Eyes widened. The ringing grew louder and louder until suddenly the loud voice of the counselor broke his trance. Toby! She yelled. Toby jumped and fell sideways out of his chair and backed up into the corner. Dr. Oliver stood up, holding her clipboard to her chest, a surprised look in her eyes. Toby met her eyes again, his breath hitching as he twitched. That night, Toby lay in bed. His eyes were dazed as he stared straight up at his ceiling. He could feel himself begin to doze off when he heard the scattering of footsteps down his hallway. He sat up and looked towards the doorway, his door wide open. There was no light. Everything was lit by the luminescent blue glow of the moon through his window, leaving a cold lighting. He stood up and slowly made his way toward the doorway when suddenly the door, which previously was wide open, slammed in his face. He gasped and fell back. He was out of breath when he hit the ground and began breathing heavily, his eyes wide open. He waited for a few seconds before getting back on his feet. He reached out and grasped the cold door handle with his bandaged hand and creaked it open. He looked out into the dark hallway and tiptoed out of his room. The window at the end of the hallway lit up the darkness with a blue moonlight as he patted his way down. He could hear footsteps rustling around him, and faint giggling followed by the pitter-patter of small feet, which sounded like a child had run in front of him, giggling and running around. The hallway was a lot longer than he remembered. It seemed endless, like the ride home from the hospital. He heard the door creak in front of him. Mom? He called in a shaky voice. Suddenly, a door slammed behind him. He jumped and turned around. Behind him, he heard a long, eerie groan that sounded like a crow right in his ear. He turned around as fast as he could and was suddenly face to face with none other than his dead sister. Her eyes were clouded.
Oh my God.
Pale, the right side of her jaw dangling there by tissue and muscle. Glass protruded from her forehead, black blood leaking down her face. Blonde hair.
I'll be shook.
Always was, and she was wearing her gray t-shirt and
Yo, I would have been so scared too.
blood. Her legs were bent in ways they couldn't. She stood there, emitting a long croaking noise only an inch away from Toby's face. Toby yelped and fell back. He started to crawl backward from her, but he was unable to break the eye contact he held with her blank, dead eyes. He dragged himself backward until he backed up into something. He stopped for a second. Everything was dead silent except for his heavy breathing and crying. He slowly looked up to meet the blank face of a tall, dark figure, the same figure that stood over him now. Behind the tall, dark mask were rows of children looking to range from 3 to 10 years old. Their eyes completely black and dark, with black blood leaked from their eye sockets. He screamed and stood up as fast as he could, only to be tripped by dark black tendrils that wrapped around his ankle. He fell straight on his stomach and got the wind knocked out of him. He tried to scream, but he couldn't make a sound. He wheezed out before it all went black. Toby woke with a start. He screamed out and sat up as fast as he could, completely short of breath. He wheezed out and held his chest with his bandaged hands. It was just a dream. He lay back down in his bed and rolled over on his side. It felt like weight had been lifted off his chest as he took in deep breaths. He stood up and padded over to his window. He saw nothing. Nobody was out there. No ghosts, no figures, nothing. He heard the rustling and coughing of his father outside the doorway. His door was closed. He walked over and opened it. Looking out into the hallway once again, padded down the hallway and into the kitchen where he found his dad standing and having a smoke in the living room. Toby waited for a second and watched him from around the corner before a burning feeling started deep in his chest. Deep, boiling anger overtook him. He heard the little imaginary voices in his head. Do it. Do it. Do it, they chanted. He turned away and held his arms. He felt like he actually had control over himself, unlike he did for the past few weeks since he got home from the hospital. He actually had complete thoughts for just moments before the chanting of the little voices in his head clouded them. Kill him. He wasn't there. He wasn't there. Kill him. Kill him. They continued on. Toby trembled. No, he wasn't gonna do it. Was he going crazy? No, he won't kill anyone. He can't. He hated his father, but there was no way he was gonna kill him. That was it. The last thought he had before he fell into an idle state once again. The influence of the voices in his head was too much. He began to slightly walk up behind his father. He reached over the counter to the knife in the case. He gripped it in his hand. He felt a sensation take over his chest. He let out a snicker. He began laughing so hard he had to grasp for breath. His father turned around abruptly before he felt a brute force shove him down the floor. He grunted as the air was knocked out of him. What? He looked up at the boy who stood over him, grasping the kitchen knife in his hand. Toby! What are you doing? He went to sit up and put his arms out in front of him in self-defense, but before he knew it, Toby was on top of him. He went to grab his neck, but his father reached out and blocked his hand by grabbing onto his wrist. Stop! Get off me, you little fucker! He yelled and held his other hand through opposite. Toby's shoulder, but he didn't stop. The look in Toby's eyes was not sane. It looked as if a demon had taken over him. He yelled back and went to stab the knife into his father's chest, but his father blocked him and grabbed onto his wrist once again. He went to shove him back, but Toby kicked his feet out in front of him and landed a hard blow straight into his father's face. His father recoiled and put his arms away to cuff his face, but Toby got back up and drove the knife straight into his shoulder. His father let out a loud cry and went to pull the knife out, but before he could, Toby threw his fist straight into his face. He began to pound his fist into his head, laughing and wheezing. He cracked his neck and grabbed the knife and ripped it out of his father's shoulder, drove it deep into his dad's chest and repeatedly stabbed into his torso, blood spilling out and getting splattered everywhere. He didn't stop until his father's body went still. He threw the knife over to the side and leaned over his body, coughing and panting. He stared at his father's smashed-in face and sat there twitching until a loud scream broke the silence. He looked over to see his mother standing a few feet away, covering her mouth with tears streaming down her face. Toby! She screamed. Why did you do that? She cried. Why? Toby stood up and began to back away from his father's bloody corpse. He began to back out of the kitchen. He looked down at the blood.
This is crazy, man.
Thank you.
He looked up at his mother one last time before he turned and ran out the
Y'all,
house.
please watch y'all kids, please, and make sure that they're comfortable and make sure they ain't getting bullied because this could turn out to be like that.
The tool rack above the table full of jars filled to the brim with old rusted nails and screws. One of the hatchets was new. It had a bright orange handle and a shiny blade, and the other was old with a wooden handle and an old dull blade. He grabbed both and looked down at the table and he saw a box of matches, and under the table was a red gasoline tank. He held both of the hatchets in one hand and grabbed 2 matches and gasoline before running out of the garage, down the driveway and up the street. As he approached the streetlight that he could see out his own bedroom window, he heard police sirens in the distance. He turned around and the red and blue flashing lights came rushing down the street. Toby stood for a second before he pulled open the cap on the gasoline tank and ran down the street, spilling gasoline all over the street after him. He turned and ran into the trees. He poured the last bit of gasoline out before he reached into his pocket and grabbed the match. He struck it against the box and immediately dropped it. In an instant, flames burst around him. The fire caught on the trees and bushes around him, and before he knew it, he was surrounded by fire. The silhouettes of police cars were visible through the flames as he packed away into the forest around him. He looked around, but his vision was blurred. His heart was pounding, and he closed his eyes for a moment. This was it. This was the end. Toby felt a hand on his shoulder. He opened his eyes and looked over to see a large white hand with long bony fingers resting on his shoulder. He followed the arm that was attached to the hand to a dark, towering figure. It appeared to be wearing a dark black suit, and its face was completely blank. It towered over Toby's small frame as it looked down on him. Tendrils reached from out its back. Before Toby knew it, his vision blurred, and he heard the sound of ringing in his ears. Everything went blank. That was it. That was the end. That was how Toby Rogers died. A few weeks later, Connie sat in her sister's kitchen. Her sister Lori sat next to her drinking a cup of coffee. About 3 weeks ago, Connie lost her husband and her son, and a few weeks before, she
Wow.
lost her car crash. Since then, she moved in with her sister. The police were keeping her busy. They had just finished cleaning up the case, and the story had been released 2 weeks ago. The focus of the world seemed to have shifted to completely new stories. Lori switched the TV on to a news broadcast. On the TV, the news reporter began introducing a new headline. We have breaking news. Last night, there had been reported the murder of 4 individuals. There are no suspects yet. The victims were a group of middle school kids who had been out in the woods late last night. The kids had been bludgeoned and stabbed to death. The investigators have discovered a weapon at the crime scene. It appears to be an old, dull-blade hatchet, as you can see here. The picture changed to show snapshots of the weapon exactly as it was left at the crime scene. Investigators have pulled the name of a possible suspect, Toby Rogers, a 17-year-old boy who stabbed his father to death a few weeks ago and tried to cover up his escape by setting a fire in the streets and forest area around the neighborhood. Although they believe the young boy had died in a fire, investigators suspect Rogers might still be alive due to the fact that his body was never found.
That one was nuts.
Yeah, so that was Tiki Toby. I can definitely see why this is a fan favorite. And while I was doing research, the person that wrote this, Castaway, I'm pretty sure they did the same art. Unless it's another person named Castaway, which I don't think so. I think that's crazy. I think that's so talented. Like, whoever, like Castaway, you are so talented for drawing it and also writing the story. Amazing job. Amazing job. This one was a longer one in the video. The longest, in case you were wondering, was Sonic.exe. That was about like 21 minutes. This one is 19 minutes. This Tiki Toby story was better than the last Slenderman CreEpyPaSta that I read. This one is just so detailed and so descriptive. It's such a good story. But yeah, let's head on over to our final CreEpyPaSta of this video. Laughing Jack. Laughing Jack. Written by Snuff Bomb. It was a nice summer day.
Is this Kiss? What the heck?
He never had any friends, but he has always had a wild imagination. I was in the kitchen feeding our dog Fido when I heard what sounded like James talking to someone in the backyard. I'm not sure what it was.
Oh, this is disgusting.
That's a sight you do not want to see.
Can you imagine walking in the woods and you see that?
Backyard. I was a bit confused because James was the only person back there. Was he talking to himself? I could have sworn I heard
Yo, Laughing Jack. Oh my god.
Yeah.
I came inside and sat down at the kitchen table. It was about lunchtime, so I decided to make him a turkey sandwich. James, who were you talking to out there? I asked. James looked up for a moment. I was playing with my new friend, he said, smiling. I poured him some milk and continued to pry, as any good mother would. Does your friend have a name? Why didn't you ask him to have lunch with us? I asked. James stared at me for a moment before replying. His name is Laughing Jack. I was a bit taken back by what he had said. Oh, that's a strange name. What does your friend look like? I asked, a bit confused. He's a clown. He has long hair and a big swirly cone nose. He's got long arms and baggy pants with stripy socks, and he always smiles. I realized my son was talking about an imaginary friend. I suppose it's normal for kids his age to have imaginary friends.
Yeah.
When he has no real kids to play with. It's probably just a phase. The rest of the day went by as per usual, and it was starting to get late, so I put James to bed. I tucked him in, gave him a kiss, and made sure to turn.
Y'all want to hear something funny? I used to talk about imaginary friends. I used to have one. I used to be funny as hell. That's how y'all do. Like, oh man, I was just too much of a little kid.
Yeah.
Y'all might think I'm weird for this. Okay, so I had an imaginary friend. I called them Box because I always like boxing with him and stuff like that. Y'all, I used to be like trying to get like bad Box. Like, yo, Box, why you always doing this? And Box be like, yo, because I wanted to. Yo, did you used to know I used to fake box like the box?
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And I used to act like I was getting hit myself too, like he was comboing me.
Yeah.
Yo, I was weird, bro. Yo, now looking back at it, I look at it like, yo, what was I thinking? Like,
I don't even know.
oh.
Nightlight before I closed the door. I was pretty tired.
My imaginary friend was boxing the shit out of me.
Some kind of rundown amusement park. I was scared, running through an endless field of empty tents, broken down rides, and abandoned game hunts. The whole place had a horrible look to it. Everything was black and white. The prized stuffed animals all hung from nooses in the game hut.
This looked like the Joker with Penguin's nose
Even though there wasn't
and the Carlito bush.
I began to hear music play. Sounds like Pop Goes the Weasel being played on a squeeze box echoed through the park. It was hypnotizing. I followed its tune to the surface.
No, not that.
Moving forward, it was pitch black. The only light came from a single spotlight shining on the center of the big top. As I walked toward the light, the music slowed down. I found myself singing along, unable to stop. All around the mulberry bush, the monkey chased the weasel. The monkey, though, 'twas all in fun. The music stopped right before its climax, and suddenly the light shot on. The intensity of the lights was practically blinding. All I could see was a small dark silhouette shuffle towards me. Then another one appeared, and another, and another. There were dozens of them, all coming toward me. I couldn't move. My legs were frozen. All I could do was watch as these haunting figures drew near. As they got closer, I could see they were children. As I looked at each one, I noticed they were all horribly disfigured and mutilated. Some had cuts all over their body, others were severely burnt, and others were missing limbs. Even I.
What the
Clawing at my flesh, dragging me to the ground, and tearing inside me. As the children tore me apart and I faded away, all I could hear was laughter. Horrible, awful, evil laughter. I woke up the next morning in a cold sweat. For taking a few deep breaths, I looked over and saw that a few of James's action figures were positioned facing me on the top of my nightstand. I sighed. James had probably woken up early and put these here. I gathered up the toys and made my way to James's room. However, when I opened the door, James was sound asleep. He just shrugged and placed the toys back in his toy box and headed out to the living room. A little while later, James woke up and I made him breakfast. He was quiet and seemed a bit groggy. Perhaps he didn't sleep too well either. I decided to ask him about the toys. James, honey, did you put the toys in Mommy's room this morning? His eyes shot up at me for a moment, then quickly glanced down to his cereal. Laughing Jack did it. I rolled my eyes and responded, well, you tell Laughing Jack to keep the toys in your room. James nodded and finished up his breakfast, then decided to go play out in the backyard. I wasn't relaxed in the living room, and I must have dozed off because I woke up a couple hours later. Shit! I need to check on James. I was a bit worried. It had been about 2 hours and I haven't checked on him. I stepped down to the backyard, but James wasn't there anymore. I was getting nervous, so I called out to him. James! James, where are you? Just then, I heard a giggle come from the front yard. I rushed through the gate around to the front of the house. James was sitting on the sidewalk. I breathed a sigh of relief and walked over to him. James, how many times have I told you to stay in the backyard? James? What are you eating? James looked up at me and then reached into his pocket and pulled out a handful of candies in all colors. This made me very nervous. James, who gave you that candy? James just stared at me, not speaking. James! Please tell Mommy where you got that candy. James hung his head down and said, Laughing Jack gave it to me. My heart sunk. I kneeled down to look him in the eye. James, I've had enough of this damn Laughing Jack thing. He is not real. Now this is a very serious situation, and I need to know who gave you the candy. I could see my
Thank you.
up, but Mama, Laughing Jack did give me the candy. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. James has never lied to me, but what?
Speaking of candy.
And I threw the rest away. James appeared to be fine. Maybe I'm just overreacting. After all, he could have gotten it from Tom and Linda from my...
Yo, if y'all kid got candy and you don't know where that thing came from, I'm taking my kid straight to the hospital.
Yeah.
I'm taking my kid straight to the hospital. The only people I can eat off of is you, my mom, and somewhat my nieces and stuff. Like, yo, I don't like eating other people's food. I like eating people, like I know we go to restaurants and all that and stuff, but like for like events, like family events, and like people bringing food from their own house and like bringing it to like the main place that all of us are gonna be at. I don't like eating other people's food a lot. You know what I'm saying? Because I feel like you know,
Yeah.
like y'all don't cook it right, or like I don't know, y'all got like y'all don't take care of y'all house that good. I don't be over y'all house a lot, so y'all could be sneezing the car. I don't like that. You know, like
Yep. Walker down the street. Either way, I'm gonna have to keep a close eye on James. That night, I put James to bed as usual and decided to go to bed early myself. Suddenly, I was woken up by a loud bang coming from the kitchen. I sprung out of bed and hurried down the stairs. When I got to the kitchen, I was horrified. Everything on the counters had been thrown on the floor, and our dog Fido hung dead from the light fixture. His stomach
oh,
Yo.
same type that James was eating earlier that day. My shock was quickly broken by a sharp scream coming from James's room, followed by loud crashes. I quickly grabbed the knife from the drawer and moved up the stairs with the speed that only a mother whose child is in danger could have. I burst through the door and flicked on the lights. Everything in the room was knocked over and tossed on the floor. My poor son in his bed, crying and shaking with fear. A pool of urine staining the sheets. I scooped my child up and ran out of the house and went next door to Tom and Linda's house. Luckily, they were still awake. They let me use their phone and I called the police. It didn't take them long to arrive, and I explained what had happened. They looked at me as if I was crazy. They searched the house, but all they found was a dead dog and 2 trashed rooms. The officer told me that someone had probably gotten into the house and done this right before making a quick escape. I knew it wasn't true. All the doors were locked and none of the windows were open. Whatever was in my house didn't come from outside. The next day, James stayed inside. I didn't want him to leave my sight. I went into the garage and found his old baby monitor and set it up in his room. Just in case if anything happened tonight, I was going to be able to hear it. I went to the kitchen.
bunk that. After hearing that, and my son's room was junky, and I know he ain't capable of doing that, I'm not leaving my kids in that room,
Never
bro.
leave them alone, man.
I could get cameras for the house, but I'm not leaving my kid in no room again. Like, you crazy.
Nightstand. Imaginary friend or not, I'm not letting anything hurt my little boy. Soon enough, night came. I put James to bed. He was afraid, but I promised him I wasn't going to let anything happen to him. I tucked him in.
If my kid was 8 and he was scared, I'm letting him sleep in my room until he's 18. I'm dead serious. I'm really about to be that protective. You know what I'm saying? Like, no.
Safe for the night, and I needed to sleep. Just as I laid my head on the pillow, I heard a soft noise come from the baby monitor I had put on my nightstand. At first, it sounded like interference, like the kind that a radio would make. Then it turned into a soft moan. I was asleep, and I heard it. It laughed from my nightmare. That horrible laugh. I sprung out from the bed and grabbed a knife from under my pillow. I rushed over to James's room and creaked the door open. I tried the light switch, but it wouldn't come on. I took a step in, and I could feel a warm, thick liquid on my feet. Suddenly, James's nightlight came on, and I could see the absolute horror laid out in front of me. James's body was nailed up on the wall, the nails piercing through his hands and feet. His chest was cut wide open, and his organs hung down to the floor. His eyes and tongue had been removed, along with most of his teeth. I was disgusted. I could hardly believe this was my baby boy. Then I heard again the soft, desperate moan. James was still alive. My baby. My poor baby. So much pain, barely clinging to life. I ran across the room and vomited on the floor, but my sickness was interrupted by a horrible cackle coming from behind me. I spun around while still wiping bile from my mouth. Then out of the shadows emerged the fiend responsible for all this horror, Laughing Jack. His ghost white skin and matted black hair hung down to his shoulders. He had piercing white eyes surrounded by dark black rings. His twisted smile revealed a row of sharp, jagged teeth, and his skin didn't look like skin at all. It almost looked like rubber or plastic. He wore a patchy black and white clown outfit with striped sleeves and socks. His body itself was grotesque, and the way he was poised made him look almost boneless, like a rag doll. He let out a sickening laugh as if to let me know he was pleased with my reaction to his work. He then turned around slowly in front of James and began to laugh even more at the horrific sight he has laid out. That was enough to shake me from my terror. I snapped, "Get away from him, you bastard!" I rushed at the monster, raising the knife above my head and stabbed down at him. But as soon as the knife touched him, he disappeared in a cloud of black smoke. The knife passed right through and pierced James's still beating heart, splashing the warm blood on my face. No, what have I done? My baby. I killed my baby. I immediately fell to my knees. And
Oh my God.
the distance growing louder. My boy. My sweet baby boy. I promised Mommy would protect you, but I failed. I'm sorry, James. I'm so sorry. Police soon arrived to find me in front of my son, still wielding a knife covered in my baby's blood. The trial was short. Insanity. I was placed in a house for the criminally insane, where I've been now for the past 2 months. It's not so bad here. The only reason I'm awake now is because someone is playing Pop Goes the Weasel outside my window. I'll talk to the orderlies about it in the morning.
That's creepy, bro.
So that was Laughing Jack. Personally, I would say it's a pretty normal, like not normal, but it's like, I would give it like a 5 out of 10. Again, I'm not rating them. This is like the only rating I'm giving them, or giving one of them. And I would give it a 5 out of 10 just because it's like, it's a little too like unnecessarily gruesome to like innocent people in the story. Like the dog and the child, it's like, bro, that's wild. I think the character concept is fire. I think it might be one of the most fire CreEpyPaSta characters of all time. If you made it this far without skipping, you're actually the GOAT. You're actually...
Oh, there's some goats, bro. Ah!
That's something right there.
Anime Horror Gang.
Like, I want to give a big thank you to Andrew. That's one of my hometown friends. He actually cut the video up. I edited on top of it, but he helped me so much with this process. So shout out to you, Andrew. Here's his Instagram. You could go check out his videos. And yeah, like I said in the beginning, if I missed any credit in the description below, please let me know. I want to give everyone as much credit as you deserve. If you wrote these stories and I didn't credit, or if I used your art and I didn't credit, you used a song and didn't credit, let me know. I have a document description listing everything and everyone. So if you're not on there, then please let me know. And before I go, boom, look at that. That was that. I just got
Yo, bro, don't keep on showing that.
And I let you guys down, I know, but you guys really liked the last video. I know you guys like real life Morbid videos, so we're gonna do those with sponsors. And that one was on trending tab, so thank you guys so much. We were on trending again. We haven't done that in a while. That's really it. As a reminder, Stop Loving Me Deluxe is out on CDs and cassettes, and you can order them now. They're all gonna be shipped and signed by me. That's it for this video. See you guys next time.
Alright, man. Yo, Tub did his thing. We really watched this for like an hour and some change.
Yeah.
Yo, y'all, we love y'all so much. Show Tub some love, man. Go subscribe to his channel. Also, please like, comment, and subscribe to us as well. You already know Anime Horror Gang. If y'all got more videos for us to check out, anime, horror, Japanese-based martial arts, or video games y'all want us to play with anime, horror, and Japanese and stuff like that, please put them down in the comments. We'll definitely check them out. We love y'all so much, man. See y'all next time.
See you next time.
Deuces! Happy Halloween!
Happy Halloween.